Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome back. I'm going to discuss today about how do you manipulate and organize the data in the database. And before moving into our technical database, we will start from the Microsoft Access, which is very user friendly and it's easy, and you will enjoy working with that. So practical aspects of this chapter I have already uploaded for you, and you can see that how the navigation happens in Microsoft Access. But here we will be looking into some theoretical consideration to look at the definitions or different terminologies we use when we talk about manipulation of the data in the databases. So starting with our outline for this topic, we are going to talk about how do you create the table in the Microsoft Access, and then when we are creating the table in Microsoft Access, at that time after creating the table we generate relationships. Before entering the data we have to incorporate this step, because if we enter the data and then we try to create the relationships, the problems might happen due to the repetitions. So once we are done with the creation stage, we move on towards entering the data in the databases. Then once we are done with entering the data in the databases, then of course database means a help for the users. So of course users needs to extract their required data from the databases. So data manipulation languages are there to facilitate this data extraction from the databases, which contain huge amounts of facts and figures. So we will be taking the help of queries in order to extract the data from the databases. And then finally we'll be talking about some advances in the databases, and we will also look into the concept of data warehouse. So starting with the first topic, which is creating the data tables in the Microsoft Access. So database management system we'll be talking about, then we will be talking about Microsoft Access, then we will be creating the tables and creating the relationships. So these are the steps we're gonna do in this topic. Firstly, what is a database management system? So it's not a database, it's a separate software system which facilitates in making the databases. So what is its function? Its function is to help the users to utilize the database information more efficiently. What are the common examples of database management systems? So we have Access, we have Alpha 5, dQuery, and Lotus approach. These are different types of examples of creating the database with the help of DMS. So Access is powerful relational database, and it is used by many businesses and individuals, but it's not that much technical like other high level databases are. So it is used for the small applications. So how do you do that? So firstly you open Microsoft Access, write it in the start menu, and then create a blank Access document. It will ask you to name the document, so you have to name the document, and then after that the blank document will be created for you, and it will take you towards the data view of the Access. Before taking you towards the data view and the table view, we are going to talk about that different names or different the definitions which we should know. Firstly, what is the field name? So for example, let's talk about Excel. So for example, in Excel, let's suppose I want to write serial number. My first row will be headings, and then second row to onward will be data, serial number, then I have name, then I have ID. So these are serial number, name, IDs. They are known as field names. So names assigned to the data field. Data type, every data field has its particular type. So for example, if I say serial number, they are auto numbers, right? If I say IDs, they are numbers. If I say name, they are alphabets or alphanumeric, or sorry, not alphanumeric, a string, or you can say a mixed, because it has spaces as well. So we have to assign the data type to each data field, and identifies how to store the data in the data fields properly. So each field has its own property. You want a serial number to be auto number, so we want this data to be stored as an auto number. So like this, we will be specifying, and then the database will know that how to store the data. Then after this, we will have another place in the design view of the access that asks about the description. So for example, if for serial number I'm writing SN, what is this? SN means serial number. So serial number is the description of SN. So like this, we write the description defines the record, that what it is talking about. If I write ID, which ID? Student ID, national ID, employee ID, which ID I want. So in the description I can write for the reader. So when you open Access, you go to, this is a table view of Access. So this is how it looks like, and if you see over here, we have view. So when you click on the drop down, it gives you both options. It says table view, it says design view, it says SQL. So whichever you want. So we want, let's suppose here in the table view we need to enter the data, but I want to give the names to these fields first, so I need to go to the design view, right? So how you will be doing it? Clicking on this view button, and from the drop down selecting the design view. You can look into my other video where I'm practically showing you that how to do these steps. Then creating we are creating different field names to later on enter the data. So this is what I discussed with you. First column is the field names, the second one is the data type, and the third one is the description, the details. Here in the bottom box, this one is the further specifications of each and every field. For example, if it is social security number or national ID, how many digits it has. Here by default I think 255 digits option is available, but no field has that much big numbers or that much letters or that much characters. So usually we specify, for example, the national ID has only 10 digits, so I can write here 10, so that no fake information could be entered. So I'll be defining these one by one in the coming slides. So this is how the design view looks like, and before I showed you the table view of the table where I enter the data. First I will be creating the tables, then I will be saving them. After that, before entering the data, I have to create the relationships, because this is the creation stage. So relationships is helping us to link different tables in the database, and it is used like a reference. So when I was talking about normalization in the previous topics, I told you that we try to reduce the redundancy with the help of normalization. So we have many tables. When you want to produce the reports later on, the tables are linked. Like let's suppose in my first table, if the employee records are there, and the second table is the department table, and the third table is about loans. So these are the employees who are working in the departments, these are the employees who are taking the loans from the business. So these things will be related. So for example, if I want to generate a report from all these three tables, which has the list of all the employees along with their department details who has taken the loan from the business, in that case the database should link all these tables. So how it will be doing it? If we had created the relationship among the tables, then such reports could be produced. So linking the table together is important. So it enables the user to create the multi-table report, or you can say multi-table queries. So what should we do? the step number one, we select the table. So we go to the relationship tab, and then after that a box appear which has the names of all the tables which we have created. So we select the table. I want this first table, I'll be clicking on its name. I want this third table, I'll be clicking on this name. And then on the back page, the tables along with their field names will appear. Okay, so select the table, and then second step is linking those tables. How we will do, I'll show you. So we have chosen the tables, and then when we choose them, they appear on the back like this, and then we have to close that box which has the name of all the tables. Now link. So the primary and the foreign key concept I already gave you. Primary key is unique and it helps us linking it with the other tables in the database. So here, for example, the department code is the primary key in this table. I want to link it with the other table. So here is the department key. I'll be putting my cursor over here and I will be dragging it over here. Once I'll do that and I'll stop or release the mouse button, this box will appear. This box is asking about some information, that it says that from department table you want to connect department code in the employee database with the department code. So this is employee database, and this is the DPT code, and this is the department, and this is the department code. Yes, I want to do that, but before this I have to click on enforce in referential integrity. This is very important, and I'll be explaining you in a while that why it is important. Once you are done, click on OK button. Okay, and in this way the relationship is created. Don't forget to save your work, because if you will not save, it will be gone, right? Okay, then we can also create the relationships among multiple tables. And once you do that, after that you have to go to the table view, and when you go to the table view, you can see such thing. If you have already entered the data, so by clicking on the plus sign over here, right now you can see a minus sign because it's already opened, but if you click on the plus sign, the fields, linked fields will be shown. Right now in our tables we don't have any data, that's why we cannot show it. Once we enter the data in the tables, which is the second step, then we can show these expanded fields. Now we are going to enter the data. That step is known as creating the records. So now, like this, one by one, every table we will be entering the data, whatever data we have, and after entering the data, yes, after entering the data, again we will save our work. So data view is used to enter the data in the database. After entering the data in the database, we have some terminologies to make them clear. So number one, ensure valid and accurate data entry. Who ensures the valid and accurate data entry? So that is data definition language, which is known as DDL. It enables the users to define the record structure. You can define the record structure with the help of data definition language. What is the record structure? For example, for social security number, it's like this: 239-1459. For example, this is the social security number. So I can define the record structure while designing the table, and I'll be writing like this: 000-1000. So I need a hyphen after first three numbers, and then the four numbers will come after that. So like this I can define the record structure so that the data which is entered in the database is valid. So it defines individual fields of each record. So for each record we can define it. We have some data validation tools. I will just show you which details I'm talking about. When I was explaining you this one, I said I'm gonna discuss these details in a while. So all these things you can find over here, which I'm going to discuss now with you for the data validation. Let me take you towards the details. So here, number one, proper data type for the field. It's must that when you are defining the data type, make sure that you do the text for every field. No, for the date use date, for the time for use time, for for the ID, if it is only number, use numbers. If it is an auto number, means you want serial number 1 2 3 4 5, then choose auto number. So proper data type you should choose for every data field, otherwise there will be a lot of mistakes in your data. Input mask. Input mask means that you can provide, like I just said, provide the structure, that how do you want the data to appear in a particular data field. So design the structure for that. Default value. Sometimes people leave some values empty, so there should be a default value for that. If it is accurate, people will leave it like this. If it is not accurate, they will change it. Like, let's suppose working hours for employees, usually they are 40 in a week, so by default you can assign a default value 40. If somebody works more than that, they will change it to 45 or 46 or whatever is their number. If someone work less than that, they can change it like that, but by default the value will be appearing 40 for every new record. Then some more data validation tool, including drop down list. Sometimes for some fields the answers are yes and no, or you can say some basic things like gender, male and female. So like that, if this is the thing, then you can choose an option while designing the data, that this field will have only these two options, so people will be choosing from drop down. Okay, so you can better to give drop down list if there are only limited, like let's suppose there are only 5 departments in the company. So the drop down list could include the name of those 5 departments. So when you are creating the record of an employee, just from the drop down list choose it. Validation routes creates the limit of values, like the value should not be more than 100 and it should be between 0 to 100. No negative value, not more than 100 value. So I can create such validation rule. Enforce referential integrity. This is what I was doing when we created the relationship. I said that click on enforce referential integrity, and I'll be explaining it later. So now this is the time to explain you what is referential integrity. Referential integrity helps you in deleting the information which exists in another table as well. Like let's suppose or even adding some information which is not available in another table which has relationship. So let's suppose in the previous example we have department table and we have employee table, and in the employee table we have department code, and here also we have department code, and they have a relationship, right? Let's suppose in department table we have only 3 departments, A, B and C. You are creating the record of an employee in employee table, and under the department code you are writing D. System will not accept it because there is no reference in the parent table for this department. So this is known as referential integrity. Maintain the integrity according to the reference, right? Let's suppose they are entering F. It will not accept. For example, in the department table you are trying to delete department A, and there are some employees in the employees table who belongs to department A. You are trying to delete department A from the department table. System will not let you do that. System will say that there are some records available in the other tables relevant to this record. You cannot delete it. So first delete these records in the child table, then delete this record from the main table. So that's why referential integrity is very important. This is an example of the drop down. How can you fix the drop down? This is the example of validation rule, that the amount should be between 1 and 100. This is the example of enforced referential integrity, which I was just telling you a few minutes back. There are some tips when you are creating the database tables and record. So as I said, always design the table first. Designing includes creating the relationship. So firstly create the tables, create the relationships, then enter the records at the last. When you are giving the name to the table, it's better to write a prefix or something which says that it's a table, because in the access all, either it is relationships, either it is queries, either it is table, they all appear like tabs. So if TBL is written, it's easy to identify. It's a table, it's a relationship, it's a query, so it's easy. Then they say that use mnemonic names for the data fields. That's also helpful for you. Assign correct data type to the data field. I already focused on this, that don't assign short text or long text to everything. No, properly identify what needs to be assigned. Then data field that link tables must be of the same data type, like department code. We were linking department code from the department table and employee table. We were linking them through relationship. So they say that they should be of the same data type. So if, for example, in the first table, which is the parent table, department table, you are assigning department code as short text, do the same in the other table. Department code should be short text. Limit the size of the text data field to a reasonable length. Like I said, by default it's 255, so reduce it according to your requirements. And use the input mask. Input mask means the format, how the ID and these things should appear. So these are some tips which if we will be following, it will be easy to create the databases. Now we are done with creating the database and entering the data into this access created database. Now the next thing is, when the people or the users, they need to extract the data from these databases, what can they do? So do remember, everything which you have entered in the database, that is known as schema. It could be the data, it could be the structure, it could be the relationship. Each and everything in the database is known as schema, and the users needs the information from this schema, but they don't need whole schema because it's huge. So the extracting a subset from the schema is known as subschema, and this we can do with the help of query. Okay, so let's move on. How can we generate the queries in Microsoft Access? So queries creates the subschemas. They are dynamic subsets of the database. They are created by the queries, and the data manipulation language is used in this regard. What is the example of the query? Again, go to create button, and from the create button you will find the queries over here. When you will you want to create the query, firstly you will this wizard will be open for you. Again, the query wizard has views, 2 different views or 3 different views. It also have SQL. So you select the table from which you want to extract the data, and then you choose the fields, which fields you want, and some specifications for those fields, and you can generate the data. I'll discuss this in a while. So we have first category of queries, that is known as one table queries. It creates a dataset from one table, and the criteria we define that which record we want to include. Let's suppose from the employee table we want to choose all those employees whose name are Muhammad. So we will give this criteria and all those employees will be chosen. And we don't want all the fields, we want just particular, maybe we want his phone number, his national ID, like that. So we will be choosing only those fields, not the whole fields. We can give one criteria like I give. We can also give another criteria about the age, if we know the age of the person. So we can give one criteria, you can give multiple criterias as you are comfortable with. More criterias, more limited records will appear for you. So once you are done, when you will click on the run button, the query will be generated for you. So this is a query in which we said that this is about, I think, some employees information whose working hours are greater than 40, I guess. So this query is generated. This is an example for you, and I already recorded the practice of this before this theory discussion, so you can see that recording and it will be helpful for you. So when you select the tables, the relationship you already made, it will auto appear. Now this is multi-table query from 2 tables. I'm selecting some of the records which I want, and we can put them. And when we will run the query, this button, this exclamation mark, red one, and down you can see the run over here, this one. This, when you click, the query is generated for you. So you can see this is the generated query for you. We have different types of queries. Some action queries, they help us in performing the action. They don't only create, they perform some actions. They help us to change. They are not just records. Like firstly, delete query. When you generate the delete query, it helps us in deleting the records. Then we have append query. It helps us in let's suppose if you want to change, or some information you want to create, or you want to consolidate the record of an employees from 2 different departments, you can work with append query. You can also use sum column query. As it name says, that it helps in summing up the column. Then update query is also there. It helps you in updating the record. If some information is wrong, you want to update it, or you want to change some date, you can do it. And then make table query helps you in creating a new separate table out of the old tables which are already there in the system. So these are action queries. We have query wizard. Just like wizard helps us doing the stuff automatically, we can use the query wizard to generate these different types of queries, starting with the first category of query, that is simple query wizard. It helps us in creating the simple query. The cross tab query, it helps us in some sort of statistical analysis, and it creates the cross tabulation. Then find duplicate queries. If you have a doubt that a duplicate record has been entered in the system, then in that case you can find the duplicate queries. And sometimes there are some records which does not have any matching information or matching records. So if auditor wants to see what are unusual activities in the database, so they can generate find unmatched queries. Means these data does not have matching, or they don't have similar type of activities. And this is how the query wizard look like. You can see over here we have all make table, append, update, cross tab. All these queries are mentioned over here. So guidelines for creating the query: spell the things accurately, and because they could be case sensitive, when you are using and or operations, use them correctly. Tables must be joined properly. The relationships should be proper. Also the queries, name them systematically. Like you can write QR, you can write QERY, anything at the start of their name, so that when the tabs are open, it's easy for you to identify. And choose data fields selectively. Don't ask for all the fields from the table. It will be a huge report. Just choose those fields which you need. Just like query in the design view, you can also use SQL to create the query. And when you use SQL from the drop down, it gives you 3 choices. You can select, means from the select, it means which fields you want to them to appear separated by comma. Which table, so if it is one table, write the name of that table only. Otherwise other tables you want, you can add them. And if you have any criteria, so that criteria you can mention in where. There are some other ways to extract the data from the database. Like we have OLAP. OLAP is data extraction tool, or you can say it helps us in extracting complex information, like we can tell what happened and why it was happened. So OLAP packages are available which helps us in doing that. um, there is another tool that is known as data mining. So data mining it's actually uses different data analysis or statistical tools, and then after analyzing that, it generates the relationship patterns or trends for us. So it actually analyzes the data for us. We have data warehousing as well. So data warehouses, they are the pool of data from the different applications, and they are very common nowadays. They have full-fledged information available in them from different applications, from different websites. You don't need to go to everywhere and find out. This data warehouse can provide you all the services, and it has uniformity in its data. It keeps the data for longer period of time, and it also creates the proper data relationships. So data warehousing is, you can say, it's I'll give you a small example of it. For example, a large volume of like, let's suppose, take some example from the companies. If you want to get the annual reports of companies, you need to go to their websites, and you will be downloading their every year separate annual reports. Data warehousing services provides you one platform from where you can extract all the companies' historical annual reports, and if you want sales figure, it will be given to you because the relationships are well defined. So sales of all the companies from that time period which you will define, that will be extracted for you. So data warehousing services are very, very useful, especially for the researchers. So this is it about our discussion for accounting information system, data manipulation and data creation using Microsoft Access. Hope you understand it. If something is confusing you, you can write in the comment section and I'll be answering it soon. There is another recording which shows the practical application. We are actually creating all these things over there, that is linked with this chapter, and actually I did that part first, so that once you are done, then the understanding of theoretical content is easy, because basically this topic is practical nature. So take care everyone. If you have any comments, you can write in the comment section and I'll be answering that soon. Take care. See you with the next video soon. Bye bye.